Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knights of the Last Call. My name is Derek Melinda, and tonight we are going to be doing another RPG first look brought to you by the patrons of the Knights of Last Call. This was what was voted for, and we're going to be looking at a system that I have never looked at before. So we are going to be talking about Pendragon. Now, Pendragon is produced by Chaosium and is an older RPG. The current edition is 6th. So this is an RPG that has been out for a very long time. And I have always been sort of peripherally aware of it, mostly because I understood that it was about Arthurian knights, sort of Knights of the Round Table. So a kind of a mix of real world medieval knight stuff, but with a tinge of fantasy, right? Because obviously the Arthurian legends have magical swords and, you know, wizards, sorcerers or whatever, what have you, but still fairly grounded. But what always kind of intrigued me about the game was this understanding that I had, which is that the the game has traits that are assigned to your character. And this, again, going back to a game that is fairly old. So this was kind of like a revolutionary thing. We're used to, think of, oh, my character has these traits. Oh, that have a mechanical impact. That's like a fate thing. That's like a Blaze in the Dark type thing, right? Like a modern indie RPG type thing. But what was really unique about this game, as I understood it, if you think about a game like Fate, I might have a aspect to my character where it says my character is, has a temper, gets angry. And we know that with Fate, that angry aspect, that temper aspect, can be used negatively against me, or I could use it positively against me. And we might trade back and forth fate points in order to sort of say, hey, we're trying to get on this guy's good side. And, he makes sort of an offhand remark about us, and everyone's like, oh, okay. But then the GM pulls out a fate point and sort of waves it in front of my face and says, oh, don't you think you might get angry about this? And there's this implicit idea that ultimately I get to decide, right? I'm the one making the choice. Do I take the fate point and then play my characters getting really upset? Or do I say, I'm good, I'm fine with that? Pendragon, as I have always understood it, kind of flips this around in its head and makes it so that you are removed from certain parts of the decision process. I mean, you, the player, are removed from certain parts of the decision process. And the game actually has a mechanical check to see if your character will or won't do something. Or, we're used to, character checks, skill checks, being things that determine, my character has this level of skill. Will they succeed or will they fail? That's how we're usually used to thinking of checks in a mechanical sense. This is a mechanical check to basically figure out what your PC is going to go do. And that to me is very interesting. So, as part of my attempt to get more aware, about other role-playing games always, but especially this year, the Chaosium line of role-playing games. At Gen Con this past August, I not only picked up Call of Cthulhu and the Call of Cthulhu Keeper and the Investigator's Guide, which we have done a first look on. You should go check that out. But while there, they were premiering the new Pendragon 6th edition starter set. Now, the core rulebook for this game is not out yet. We were just checking that before we went live. But this boxed set, okay, which is still in the shrink wrap, so you can tell this is definitely a first look. I've not had an opportunity to dive into this. This box set contains all you need for adventure in a world of chivalry and honor. And it's with this 6th edition of Pendragon in mind that we are going to be sort of taking a look and going through the rules. And of course, with these first looks, it's really just about us exploring the game together, getting some of my initial thoughts, what excites me, what maybe confuses me, what mechanics I think stand out as being particularly clever or compelling. And of course, we're always trying to look for this idea of, how great is this role-playing game? Does the game set out to accomplish something? Does the game give you tools to accomplish those things? And should you accomplish those things, does the game reward you in a meaningful way? And I think, any game that does that is usually a good game. And so that's kind of our main criteria. And of course, we'll always be thinking, maybe about a little bit of GNS scores or, stuff like that as we go through it, as we tend to do. So real quick, shout out. We got Ben here, who I thought was playing D&D, but apparently stopped in. Hey, Ben, what's going on? Watching a countdown timer. Chris likes the music. Thank you, Chris. Lance got an ad today for electric razor for his balls. Sweet. Beowulf showing his love. Pendragon, love it. Colby is literally trying Pendragon for the first time with my group in 30 minutes. Well, Colby, you'll have to let us know in the comments how it goes. Ayla is here. London Matthews is here. Beowulf, howdy. Lollipop, hello. Henry, hello, and hail to you as well. Enders has the Pendragon and Runecrest solo books. Good to go. Sweet. Let's make jousting great again, says Ken. Fred says, hope you like Pendragon. It's great fun, but requires a very unique mindset. Player has to go with the roles regarding traits and passions. Also, players have to get into the chivalry mindset. Yeah, Fred, I don't know how familiar you are with the extensive amount of work and games that we've played here on this channel. But that is exactly the kind of role-playing game that I think really interests me. It really, in a sense, it turns role-playing into the game. And I think that's really, really clever. And I think that's really, really awesome. And I expect to see certain similarities to, this and Legend of the Five Rings. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll figure out. Golden Monkey says Pendragon or Mythic Bastionland, maybe both. Well, I kickstarted Mythic Bastionland, so I think that looks pretty cool. Electric Bastionland was talked about infinitely, forever, never, ever, and I never really picked it up, but maybe I'll get it eventually. There's a couple books I'd like to pick up, maybe next year's Gen Con or something, if I find them. Rui, good evening to you as well. Bruno, hey, what's up? All right. Let's get into it. So as I was saying before, we have a link in the description below so you can buy the PDF. It's $15. It's an affiliate link. We get a couple percentage of that. So we get like maybe 35 cents, which is great if you do use the link. But as far as I could tell, the PDF, take it for what it's worth, comes with everything that comes in this box, just in PDF form. So it's kind of a heavy box, actually. So I got to admit, I love box sets. Okay, this is probably the number one thing that I miss from the TSR era. So what is in the box? What's in the box? Sorry, couldn't help myself. All right, hail, brave knight! By opening this starter set box, you are taking your first steps into the legendary world of Greg Stafford's Pendragon role-playing game. As you can see, the starter set is packed with goodies, enough to get you and your gaming group playing straight away and for many sessions to come. All right, so we've got 3 different books. Book 1, The Adventure of Sword in the Stone, is a solo quest, all rights reserved, solo quest adventure, specifically designed to teach the rules of the game and introduce the legendary world of Pendragon. So a solo adventure to start, which is interesting. I don't think we're going to be going through this solo adventure, but everyone's like, do the solo quest first. I'll tell you what, if we can hit a tip goal or something like that, maybe I'll come back and I'll do the solo quest as like a bonus thing. Unless it's like really short. If someone says it's really short, then maybe we can just do it. Book 2 is The Fabled Realm, which is intended for game masters and players alike, and it goes into details on the game setting and core mechanics. So, the core rules. Book 3 is an entire campaign, a detailed 3-year campaign that takes the player knights through the most important early events of the boy king's reign. Battles, feasts, larger-than-life foes, and strange creatures. There are 4 appendices for additional information that come about as you go through the campaign, 8 pre-generated knight characters, 18 battle cards detailing encounters and opportunities, and dice, where you need only one 20-sider and a handful of 6-sided dice. Take some time to familiarize with the contents, grab a dice and pencil, and dive right into Book 1. Your adventure has already begun. So here's a nice little picture of everything that comes in the box. And technically with your PDF stuff. So one thing right away to note here, not necessarily a bad thing, which is that... All right.
Ben tipped $50. Solo quest.
All right. Well, with Ben tipping $50 for Solo Quest and Corel tipping super chatting $20 to see everybody want me to see me play with myself, I guess we're gonna do the Solo Quest then. All right. I don't even think I downloaded that. Let me go and get it. All right. Boom. Okay. Here we go. You guys want it? We'll get it. All right, here we go. This is not at all what I was expecting to have to do tonight here. Me playing with myself. All right. I guess I need some dice. Well, you know what? If we're going to do it, I mean, we might as well do it right. All right, here we go. I'm assuming this has dice. All right, here we go. All right. Unboxing. Hold on a sec here. I'll go bigger so we can all see it. All right. Oh, we just saw this. Here we have Book 1, The Adventures of the Sword and the Stone. Book 2, The Fabled Realm. These are all paperbacks. And look, that's kind of cool. They all have like parts of the map on the back, which is pretty cool, of like England, Great Britain, I should say. And yes, indeed, we have our dice. We've got a single D20 and looks like 6 D6. All right. So let me see. It might tell me I need something else, but pull all these stupid things out here. Got my little dice tray going. All right. So let us go back to the PDF browser, and we will go ahead and get this solo quest started. All right. Welcome to Me, Myself, and Die. My name is Derek Melinda, and today we're going to be talking about playing with myself. All right, here we go. Enders likes the art style. Ben thinks the art style is amazing. I remain to be seen. It is not cartoony, but it's also not. I appreciate. Let me be clear about something. I appreciate that it's not the over the top, like that really in your face fantasy style that we, have come to sort of see over the last couple of years. So, it's much more relaxed. Yes, I would say naturalistic. All right. Okay. This is a solo quest adventure from Pendragon. We have this cool little seal. Just like, there's a lot of nice little details and flourishes already, I can tell, just from looking at some of the products. It is pretty cool. It's pretty nice looking. Oh, yeah, let's hold a sec here. Let me see if I can do something here. All right, there we go. We got some music going. All right. All right, so we've got the solo quest with an introduction, and let's see. We've got playing Pendragon, how our character works, and some information as we go through it, and then the quest numbers. All right, let's get into it. Solo quest. And again, there's definitely a, I want to call it an almost like tapestry-like, style to the drawings, right? It's very reminiscent of like a Bayeux tapestry, which I'm sure they were going for. So again, it's just pretty cool. Oh, Jesus Christ.
OnlyFans bot tip $10. Like what you see? Don't forget to check out the Knights OnlyFans account to see Derek, Bob, and Smith making some real-life athletics checks smile.
Thank you, OnlyFans bots. Yes, I will have to change the title to Pendragon Solo Adventure. So, Solo Quest. The Adventure of the Sword in the Stone takes place in the fantastical world of Greg Stafford's Pendragon role-playing game. Although you normally play Pendragon with one or more friends, for this adventure, all you will need is your pencil, some dice, and your wits. You are playing the part of a page, serving in the household of a kindly aging knight named Sir Ector. This is very much straight out of the Disney Sword in the Stone, right? His manor lies nestled in the wilds of modern-day Wales. I've got my eraser as well. A tiny kingdom called Penlyn. Pages are young boys and girls between the ages of 7 and 14 who learn the ways of courtly life by observing their elders and doing menial tasks for them. After serving as pages, most girls become handmaidens to ladies, although some may pursue a martial path and become squires. Boys almost always become squires, though the runts and thirdborns of the family are sometimes sent off to the priesthood. Now that you are 14, you are among those pages at court who dream of soon becoming squires to great and noble knights. Sir Ector has 2 squires in his service, his sons Kay and Arthur. Squires study the ways of knighthood while they serve. Those who are confident in themselves, show promise, and who have the right connections may become knights. Most remain squires after age 21 and are called esquires to indicate that they are not in service to a particular specific knight. Kay is an accomplished squire, brave and brash, and due to be knighted soon, as he is only too happy to remind anyone who will listen. Sir Ector says Britain will need many more knights with strong arms like Kay's in the years to come. For these are dark times indeed. The land has fallen into anarchy and despair. The last High King of Britain, Aurelius Ambrosius, died 30 years ago. His brother, Uther, ruled for 15 years after that from the mighty kingdom of Logris, but never achieved the coveted title of High King. He died, along with most of the nobility of Logris, over the course of one fateful evening, victims all to foul Saxon treachery. That was 14 years ago, when you were still in your mother's belly. Except for that brief blessed time, you have never known a wholly peaceful world. Raids from the hill folk of the Cambrian interior, border skirmishes with neighboring petty kingdoms, and Irish reavers from the sea trouble your lands, particularly in recent years. Logris, they say, may fall to Saxon invaders at any time. Its warlords too busy squabbling amongst themselves to mount an effective defense against the barbarian. Britain cries out for a new king, for a new high king, for the return of strength, unity, and stability. But here, in Penlyn, on Sir Ector's estate, these troubles seem far away. A brisk autumn breeze, how appropriate, riles up your hair as you step out of the manor hall and spot Arthur and Kay getting set for quintain practice. If only you could join them. All right, hold on. We got a tip coming in. Here we go. All right. As we know, you can control my lighting. All right, so we're going to read the following sections to get oriented, then proceed to the first numbered pages and start reading, following the prompts based on your decisions of other numbered passages in the text. At times, we will be instructed to roll dice, both for our own character and sometimes on behalf of another. The outcomes of these rolls will also guide you to other numbered pages. Okay. Through a combination of choice and luck, you will eventually reach the end of the adventure. At that point, you will proceed through a point scoring system to see just what kind of knight you will become, ranging from a wandering mercenary who promises their sword to the highest bidder, all the way to the chivalrous peer of the legendary Round Table. All right. So we've got some information here. Pendragon is set in the mythical world of Dark Ages Britain. It is Greg Stafford's unique synthesis of centuries of Arthurian tales, a vision of history informed by medieval scholars and troubadours, by Sir Thomas Malory and Edmund Spenser, by romantic novelists like Tennyson, and by more contemporary visions from popular literature and cinema. All these stories have contributed to this legendary game setting. So it really does sound like a bit like Legend of the Five Rings, right? Which is obviously based off of historical Japan, very much based off of historical China, but with myths and fantasy and the modern day, stuff of Japanese movies and, the films of Akira Kurosawa, right? Those things are all kind of put into the Legend of the Five Rings setting of Rokugan. Rokugan is not China, but it is not Japan, but it is certainly inspired by that. And Seventh Sea kind of does something very similar, in my opinion. Now, imagine that it is the year of our Lord, 509. All right. I'm changing the music up here. All right. Imagine that it is the year of our Lord, 509. Britain is a large, verdant island surrounded by turbulent seas and consisting of 5 geographic regions. The north, beyond Hadrian's Wall. Cambria and Cornwall to the west and south. Cumbria in the middle. And Logres to the southeast. Some smaller islands sit off its coast, and the big island of Ireland lies just to the west. Britain is riddled with many navigable streams and rivers, and its coasts boast many fine natural harbors. Much of this land is hilly and covered in dense, ancient forest, some rumored to be haunted. Deadly beasts, like the fierce British lions and panthers, have kept the woods dangerous, even where crumbling old Roman roads cross through them. Deeper into the heartwood and marshes live dragons whose occasional sallies wreak terrible havoc upon nearby settlements. Oh, dragons, I was not expecting that. There we go. Other portions of the forest are set aside as hunting ground for kings and their followers who fight monsters more than they fear them. The people of Britain self-define themselves as one of 5 distinct cultures: Cymric, Irish, Pict, Roman, or Saxon, and have divided themselves into scores of tiny warring kingdoms. Some, like Penlyn, of no greater size than a valley. The most powerful of them all is the Kingdom of Logres. It occupies most of southeast Britain and holds 3 of its largest remaining Roman cities. Now, in these dark times, enemies converge on Logres from all sides. Her warlords vie for supremacy, and her few allies fear her imminent collapse. Pendragon, Britain, is a land of adventure and danger, of scheming lords and ambitious ladies, of great passions and glorious deeds, of mysterious castles and strange hidden kingdoms, of savage beasts lurking in shadowy green woods. It is a fabled realm waiting for us to explore. All right. Playing Pendragon. There are only 2 dice that we need to use in Pendragon, the 20-sided die and the D6 dice. We will use the D20 die to resolve actions as well as to test our character's morals and beliefs in times of crisis. Okay, so this is getting to what I was talking about how you actually roll sometimes to see how your character will behave. The stories of Arthur and his knights and ladies are filled with characters consumed by their passions and driven by their emotions, for good and ill. Throughout the course of this adventure and later, when you play Pendragon with your friends, you will find your character's personality at times driving the narrative in surprising directions. Much enjoyment, that sounds very Gygaxian. Much enjoyment is thus derived from trying to get yourself out of trouble of your own devising. This touches on the central question underlying all gameplay in Pendragon. Finding out what kind of knight you really are. I like that. And boom, there you go. Like, that's what the game is about, right? We wanted to know that. What is this game about? This game is about finding out what kind of knight you really are. That's it in a nutshell. I love it. And again, it comes out and says that to us, right? It sets the mood, it sets the tone, and then it says, here's the challenge, player character. You know, here's what we're here to play to find out, right? It's literally basically saying we're going to play to find out. All right. Glory and honor. The measure of all knights is taken by their glory, capital G, and honor values. Okay. So we have mechanicized and quantized glory and honor. By the way, this, again, I said there was going to be L5R stat. I should point out that you have three quantified social stats in Legend of the Five Rings. You have a status level, you guessed it, glory level, and you have, you guessed it, an honor level. So glory and honor are literally two things that are in Legend of the Five Rings. Glory is the measure of a knight's notoriety and fame. It only increases with time and is not tied to the knight's inherent moral character. Knights like Sir Agravain or Sir Bruce Sans Pete are infamous for their rotten personalities and questionable behavior, but both achieve high glory values. Honor, on the other hand, may fluctuate quite a bit over the course of a knight's lifetime and is dependent on their behavior. Some actions increase honor, many others decrease it. Honor is a precious commodity and must be closely guarded, for if a knight's honor ever falls too low, they will commit seppuku. They will lose their status and place in society. All right, close enough. During this adventure, you will keep track of the actions that would normally earn you glory as if you were a knight, as well as your honor value. You do this by placing checks in the boxes next to the indicated skills, personality traits, and passions. Each box may only be checked once. If you earned a check earlier in the adventure, any further instructions to check this box are ignored. After completing the adventure, you will find adventurers how to tally everything up based on your checks and find out what kind of knight your young character will eventually grow to become. As noted earlier, for dealing and taking damage, you roll multiple 6-sided dice to determine how much damage is done in combat. Sometimes you will add a number, such as 2d6 plus 4. Other times, like when you throw a punch, you simply apply a set number of points, such as between 1 and 4, depending on your size and strength. Armor protects against damage, so it sounds like it's absorbative armor, but whatever gets through is deducted from your hit points. Once hit points fall below the character's unconscious threshold, the character is incapacitated. If hit points ever fall to 0 or less, you are dying. Although combat is not the focus of this scenario, there are certain paths that may take you to combat. In such circumstances, you must track both your hit points and those of your opponents, as well as make all dice rolls on your opponent's behalf. A character sheet is provided with this scenario. This is a simplified version of the standard Pendragon character, representing your character as a 14-year-old page about to become a squire. You have benefited from a lifetime of active and passive instructions in the traditions of your Cymric, somebody maybe help me out with that pronunciation, your Cymric culture, your Christian religion, and the duties of knights and nobles. All right. Give your character a name. So we need a name for our characters. Is there no way to, is this the character sheet, basically? All right, let me see what I can do here. Hold on, loading, please wait. All right. Okay. Okay. right. Just give me a minute. For some odd reason. There we go. All right. All right, here we go. This is our Chimeric. This is our knight. All right, so we got to give ourselves a name. Let me think of a good name. How about? Let's see here. I want something Roman sounding. Or no, I guess a Chimeric. I don't even know what that is. Anybody got a good name suggestion? It's like a Welsh name. So let's see. Oh yeah, I just saw it was Welsh name. All right. Okay, I got it. Gareth. I like that name. Gareth One Eye, for those of you who know what that is. All right, so we will be Gareth, the young page of Sir Ector. All right. Thanks. All right. Oh, there were names earlier. Okay. I must have missed those. All right. Oh, yep. There's a bunch of names. I just missed that. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. All right. Aiden, Adwin, Gariant, Grade. Well, we got close, right? All right. Your characteristics. So, by the way, just really quick here, we see that we have here. We could take a look at the character sheet, and we've got a size rating. So this is very much similar to Call of Cthulhu and RuneQuest, right? AKA Mithras, where size is a numerical rating. We have a dexterity, a strength, a constitution. What I'm guessing is appearance. Our hit points, which are maximum of 27. We've got notes. And then we've got some skills. We've got battle skills specifically called out. We have our passions. And then we have our traits, where we can see sort of opposing concepts of being chaste or lustful, of being merciful or being cruel. So this, I think, is going to get into kind of that role-playing aspect of things that we were talking about a little bit earlier. All right. Shrink that down a little bit. Okay. So, characteristics are your physical attributes. You have no notable strengths or weaknesses. How these function and play will be covered by the events in the scenario, but note that they determine your character's derived characteristics, such as hit points, movement. For example, I think we can see here that since our constitution is 15 and our size is 12, that is likely where we got our 27 hit points from. All right. Next, take a look at your personality traits, which are noted as traits. These quantify and guide your character's actions. All traits come in pairs with two values that sum to 20. The values of each of these are written on opposite sides of a slash. For example, as 13/7, 14/6. A character tends to act according to the trait with the greater value. The bold personality traits, you can see those here: chaste, forgiving, merciful, modest, etc. Are called your religious traits and represent the values most important to your religion. Other traits, those marked with a star, are particularly important for knights. Okay, so we kind of get a cool idea too of like when we start talking about our traits, like you can see where if you have like certain scores higher, it's like being a knight is more important, or is being a, I think the character said it was a Christian more important. And then there's some that really like prudent or reckless, trusting or suspicious, that are really kind of ambivalent to both, which is kind of an interesting way of doing it. All right. You may now customize your trait values. All traits start at a value of 10. Your religious traits each gain a bonus of +3 points. Remember that this reduces the opposite trait by 3 as well. And our valorous trait starts at 15. Okay. Then it says, now choose one trait and make it a 16. This is your famous trait and what you are known for amongst your peers. And finally, distribute 6 points amongst any of the other traits. No other trait may be raised above 15, but you are free to put all of your points into a trait if you wish. Okay, so we get to make our little character here, and how do I see him? So again, everything starts at 10, except for the religious traits, which start at a 13. And then our valorous trait is 15. Okay, so we know that the valorous trait is 15 and 5, I guess. All right, what do we got here? Let me zoom in so I can see better. Okay. Trusting and suspicious. I think my character's, I'm going to put a point into trusting. So that's one of our 6. So temperate and indulgent is 13 and 7. Spiritual is 13 and 7. Prudent and reckless should be 10 and 10, but I'm going to put 2 points into prudent. No. I'm going to put 2 points into reckless. Yeah. So that's 3 of our 6 points spent, right? And then we have modest and proud and merciful and cruel, which again, because of their religious connotations, start at 13. Still waiting to find the one that I'm famous for, and that gets to be a 16. All right, I am going to be, you know what? I want to be a knight's knight here. So I'm going to be famously just. I believe in justice. So I'm going to be 16 just, 4 arbitrary, 13 forgiving, 7 vengeful, 13 chaste, 7 lustful, 10 and 10. And let's go with, let's make our character a little bit selfish. So that's another point. And I'm going to say that our character is more honest, 12, than deceitful. So that is our 6 points spent. I am famously just. Famously just what? Famously, I believe in justice. I believe in the power of things being fair, right? And fairness. So there we go. So those are my character's traits. And again, I'm assuming you're going to be testing these on a D20. And you can see that some of these checks I would be likely to pass, and other ones of these checks I would be very unlikely to pass. All right, so that is our character sheet for right now. All right, so let's continue on. Once you have allocated your points, fill in your final trait values. Remember that each pair must sum to 20. Okay, yeah, we did that. All right. Yeah, I'm building basically a proto Ned Stark here, right? All right, passions. After we finish with our traits, let's move on to passions. Passions are intense beliefs that may provide inspiration, boosting a single skill or a trait for a short time. Passions are especially useful in combat or attempting a difficult task, which makes sense, right? That's when you need to dig deep, right? And we always talk about this, like when a game gives you the ability to sort of dig deep, right, and call upon your character's personality to do better in stats, that is usually a line towards, right, narrativist gameplay, because you're sort of, kind of blending the narrative with the gamist mechanics. The most important passion is honor. And this begins at 15, and we can see that on our character sheet there at the bottom, 15 for honor. There are many other passions, including adoration, devotion, hate, station, and chivalry. But for the purposes of our character, we will focus on 3 others aside from honor. We start with homage to our Lord. We start with love of our family, and we start with hospitality. These each start with a value of 15 as well. The final step in customizing our character is going to be in our skills. As the name implies, skills are what allow you to accomplish great deeds in the game. Each skill has a default value listed on the character sheet. Okay, so now we know what these parentheses are for. These values are increased in a variety of ways as described below. Because you are a Kimric Knight in training, I add 3 to my charge, horsemanship, and courtesy skills. Okay. So does that mean that my value starts at 3 points higher than would be otherwise indicated here? I'm guessing that's what it does. So charge is 9. Horsemanship is 9. And what's the last one here? Courtesy is 10. Sick. All right. Because I am a... God, they're really going to kill me on this word. Kimric Knight. All right, I need to learn how to pronounce this here. All right.
Cymric.
Okay.
Cymric.
All right, we get
Cymric.
All right, there we go. Cymric. He's saying it's
Cymric.
Kimric. Well, why is Google pronunciation doing it wrong? All right, let's see what this is.
Cymric.
Oh, this one says it completely differently.
Cymric.
All right. You know what? All right, it's Kimric. All right, Kimric. I've got a bunch of people who are very, very clearly they sound very sure of themselves. So I'm going to say that it's Kimric. All right, Kimric. All right, so there we go. Got it. Like the Boston Celtics. Great. All right. So, Kimric. Because you are a Kimric Knight in training, you add 3 to your charge, horsemanship, and courtesy skill. Every family has certain inborn traits or talents for a particular skill. Roll a d6. Here we go. And consult the table. All right. I got a 4. And that means we get to increase silver-tongued. Oh, wait. What does that mean? Then increase the indicated. We're silver-tongued, so we add 3 points to orate. All right. So our orate is 10. Sick. Okay. Now distribute 10 points amongst your skills. With the limitations outlined below. These personal skill additions represent where you have put your time and attention as you've grown up at court. As with passions, not all skills are useful in every scenario. However, some skills are of use only to knights and are not included on your character sheet. All right, no skill can be raised above 15. No skill with a starting value of 0 may be increased. I don't think we have any of those. The following skills may not be raised above the appeal characteristic at the time of character creation: courtesy, flirting, folklore, intrigue, and orate. Hardrick, yes, because we were, our character was famous for one trait, and we chose to be famously just, which set us at 16. Bonuses from your Kimric skill modifiers and family characteristic may raise skill values above the limitation set out above. Okay, so these bonuses don't come in until after technically we've added points to this. Okay, so we've got 10 points. So again, remember, appeal limits our ability to be courteous. So courtesy, flirting, folklore, intrigue, and orate all are capped at 12. Okay. But again, our bonuses from our Kimric skill modifiers and family characteristics could take that above those limitations as outlined above. All right. Well, our awareness starts at 5, and I'm going to say let's put 3 points into there. I want to be aware. I want our character to know what's going on. Our character is just. So I think, and they seem like they're fairly pious. We didn't really modify any of these things. So I'm also going to give them 2 points in religion and take the religion to 7. So that is 5 points of our 10 gone. But, okay, thank you. Thanks, Microsoft. All right. Thanks, Microsoft. All right. So, what else do we want? We want to put. Ooh, well, come on. We got to put some points into. We got to put some points into sword, right? So let's put 2 points into sword. So that's. Oh, it deleted all of our changes. Cool. So 8 in awareness. 2 points into religion. So that's 5 points spent. 2 points in sword. That's 7 points spent. Let's take horsemanship up to 11. Yeah, we'll be really good at horses. We've got 1 point left, and let's put it into hunting. All right, sick. All right, so we spent our 10 points, and we now have our following skills. We've got awareness at 8, courtesy at 10, folklore and first aid at 6 and 7, hunting at 6, intrigue at base of 7, orate at 10, religion at 7. Charge is up to 9, horsemanship 11, sword 8. Yes, this man horses. I like that. All right. And of course, our character is valorous and just, right? And pious and religious. We're definitely trying to be, again, the knight's knight. All right. Let's see. The adventures. Oh, is that it? Yep. All right. The adventures of the sword in the stone begins. All right. Let's change up the music here. What do we got? We got to have some knightly music right here. There we go. Here. This. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Let's go. Here we go. All right, there we go. There we go. Music going on. Sir Ector's Manor is built upon the ruins of an ancient hill fort in the country of Penland. The hall, Sir Ector's place of residence, is a grand 2-story stone building with an entrance on the 2nd floor. On this fine autumnal day, with the harvest done and the air getting chillier, you are enjoying a brief respite from your duties with your friend and fellow page, Alice. The two of you are sitting near the warmth of the central hearth, playing a game of improvised draughts using river pebbles, when the main door to the hall flies open. It is your friend Arthur, Kay's younger brother, and his fine features lit with excitement. He beams at you. Kay wants us to do quintain practice, and I asked if you could join us, and he said yes. You leap to your feet. As a page, you are not allowed to practice martial skills with the squires. Kay, the senior squire of the household, must be feeling magnanimous. The game of draughts forgotten, you and Alice run outside with Arthur. Okay, going outside. Ooh, all right, there we go. We're going outside. The light has to come up, right? That's the way this works. All right, we go outside. All right. The knight, we go to 2. The knight, if nothing else, a mounted warrior. The knight is, if nothing else, a mounted warrior, and the knight is most fearsome on the battlefield as part of the massed mounted lance charge. Against this unstoppable force, few enemies may stand. Learning how to ride your horse into battle takes years of practice. It requires riding at full gallop, holding a heavy shield in one hand and a long wobbly stick in the other, all while maintaining a balance and control of the mount long enough to score a meaningful target hit against the target without falling off afterward. Squires practice their aim with the lance using a device called a quintain. These vary in constructions from simple to elaborate. Sir Ector's quintain is decidedly the former, but it serves its purpose well enough. A crossbeam atop a post is used to hang an iron disc about the size of a man's face. The distance from the ground may be adjusted, but usually, like today, it is hung at the approximate point where a precise hit is likely to unhorse a knight. You know, these are the hit it thing and it swings around and whacks you. The idea is to execute a charge with a lance and try to score a direct hit on the disc, which is molded in such a way that only by striking the very center will a sonorous gong sound out. There you go. Have a nice little art moment. The music playing in the background. We have a little sidebar over here, which I do want to read because I think this is about teaching us the game. Doing the right thing. Pendragon often confronts players with dilemmas that are played out using personality traits. The traits on the left-hand side of the column of your character sheet are considered the more positive ones for knights from Britain's mainstream culture and religion. Acting in accordance with these traits is considered befitting a good chivalric Christian knight, but is not always the right thing to do. Behavior that seems advantageous in the moment may come with a hidden cost later on. Conversely, some sacrifices may be made entirely in vain. Traits of 16 or higher, called famous traits, often compel behavior in accordance with that trait unless you roll under the opposing trait. Other times, you may wish or be asked to roll against one or two traits to determine the course of an action, such as making a valorous roll when you are confronting a terrifying monster, or rolling against temperance and indulgent to see if you overeat at a feast. Over time, acting in accordance with a particular trait raises its value, causing you to act even more so in the future. So this is diegetic character progression, right? If my character acts honestly, then over time, I'm going to become more honest. This is also very similar to concepts that are used in Burning Wheel, Torch Bearer, and Mouse Guard as well. Although they don't have this lengthy list of traits. It's usually just one or two things. All right, very cool. As you run out onto the top stairs, landing outside the hall, you see that Kay has set up the quintain and brought a small stack of rebated lances. They're normally lethal points dulled. It's Britain, and I know this from woodworking. It's not rebatted, it's rabbited. Because that's for some odd reason, that's how they spell rabbit. A small stack of rabbited lances. They're normally lethal points dulled with a cloth bundle. Your excitement dims when you see that he has also brought out a mechanical hobby horse, a four-wheeled contraption with a saddle on top, which must be pulled by two others in order to achieve momentum and speed. Kay seems to register your disappointment as you descend the stairs. What? Did you think I was going to get Bishop out for this? Bishop is the name of Sir Ector's charger, a fine warhorse who has seen many battles and bears the scars to prove it. It is enough that the whelp promised to do my chores for a fortnight in exchange for this favor. Arthur looks clearly abashed. Clearly, he did not want Kay to mention this part of the deal. Being an older squire of 17 winters, Arthur has many responsibilities already. Taking on Kay's tasks will mean long hours and sore limbs. In a situation like this, where it may not be clear how to best respond, you may turn to your traits for guidance. As long as the trait is less than 16, you are free to choose how to act. However, let's see what the dice have to say this time. This is called a decision roll and has you rolling against two, usually opposing traits. It is usually obvious which traits to roll against once you become familiar with their definitions. In this case, look to your just and arbitrary traits. Whoa. Someone with a high value in just has developed an objective sense of right and wrong, while an arbitrary person allows their own biases or self-interest to influence their feelings. Take a 1d20 and roll it against the value of your just trait first. If you roll equal to or less than the value, you are said to have succeeded in that trait. Rolling the value of the trait exactly is called a critical success, while rolling a 20 is called a fumble. Here we go. So I'm just 16. We got our official Pendragon D20 roll here. I wish we had a camera. Whatchamacallit? A dice cam. All right, I rolled an 8. If you rolled a critical success, put a check next to your just trait on your character sheet. If you fumbled the roll, put it next to arbitrary instead. As a fumble in one trait is considered an automatic success in the other. If you failed your roll against just, make a second roll against with arbitrary. As with just, a critical success here, blah, 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 but we didn't do that. So I succeeded. If you choose or succeeded at just, go to 3. All right. So my character, Gareth, has a very overstated sense of justice and will proceed to section 3. Ben, thank you / I hate you. Hopefully you can check out the VOD later. But we're all learning, right? Thanks to Ben. Thank you, Ben. K is 7 years your senior and has at least 2 stone of weight on you, but you feel you must say something. If this comes at the expense of... Oh, wait, I'm supposed to be like 12 or something? If this comes at the expense of Arthur having to do all your work for you, Kay, then I don't want it. You feel your eyes flash as your heart pounds inside of your chest. You would love nothing more than to take a shot at the Quintain. I know, I've got such good horsemanship. But not at the expense of your friend. Everything is quiet for a moment. You see that Alice has come out of on the landing and is watching the whole scene, which makes your cheeks burn even more brightly. Kay's expression is one of utter bemusement. Fine, he says with a shrug. For one fleeting moment, you think you may have won this. For one fleeting moment, you think you may have won the standoff. I guess this doesn't matter to you as much as the whelp said it did. Still, it'd be a shame to waste me setting up the Quintain. I'll take a few passes with the lance, and you and the whelp can pull me. All right, so we go to section 6. It's like choose your own Pendragon adventure. So, my overstated sense of justice. Which, by the way, because it was higher than 16, I didn't get to make a choice. I had to roll. Got me out of the opportunity to practice on a real Quintain. And boy, I'm broken. I'm crushed. Okay. You cannot help but feel dejected. I know, I'm feeling it. Arthur catches your eye as you both move to the front of the hobby horse and gives you an encouraging smile. You can see that he is grateful that you spoke up, which helps to lift your spirits. Thanks, Arthur. Don't worry, he says. Before you know it, you'll be doing this practice so much that you'll wish this Quintain had never been built. By making a just decision against your own best interest, you earn a check to honor. Look at that. We got the big check to honor, people. We did it. Kay hops onto the back of the hobby horse, causing its legs to bow alarmingly. He wields the lance, 12 feet long and made from a single piece of ash wood, as if it were a stick. Alrighty, horsey, let's go. He pretends to put the spurs to the horse, and Arthur laughs. From the landing, Alice shouts out words of encouragement. Your leather shoes dig into the uneven turf as you pull hard. Even with Arthur's help, this is going to be tough work. Make an unopposed strength roll to see how we fare. To do this, roll 1d20 and compare the result with our strength characteristic, as you did with your trait roll. Remember, if you roll exactly the value of your strength, it's a critical success, while rolling a 20 is a fumble. So our strength characteristic is 12, so we need to roll a 12 or under, with a 12 being a critical success and a 20 being a fumble. No bonuses, straight D20. Well, we rolled a 14. So that means that we failed. Damn it. These games are already so tilting. So we failed. So we go to 15. Oh, no. The grass is still wet with morning dew, and Kay's bulk is too much for the poor hobby horse to bear. Try as you might, your leather soles slip a few times, and the horse barely trundles forward. Ugh, methinks we're going to have to put this old nag out to pasture, Kay says from the saddle. Move! Move! Your face burns with humiliation. How do you feel about this? Roll modest versus proud. You may choose which to roll first. If the first roll is a success, do not roll the second trait. Place a check next to the successful trait, if any. All right, so our modest is 13, so let's roll it. Hey, we rolled a 2. All right. So we are going to mark modest per the instructions of the game. And we go to 17. Without warning. So in other words, we were just testing to see like how did we feel about this? Were we able to sort of, are we being modest about it, or are we feeling very proud and overwhelmed? Without warning, the air is split with the blast of a horn. Your petty concerns and squabbles pop like soap bubbles as you all turn to see the lord of the manor, Sir Ector, riding up from the village of Caergae, his household knight, Sir Jonas, riding behind him. Most knights in Britain serve in the household of a lord, thus their name. They are also called bachelor knights, from bas chevalier, bas chevalier, a low knight. They are nonetheless members of the nobility, and to reach even their rank puts one in an exclusive group of warriors sworn to defend those who cannot defend themselves, and pledge their swords to a nobleman or noble lady. Sir Ector, an aging knight, looks to be in good humor. He reins in his horse to a halt near down to where you were practicing and hops off. I have word that our king, Marwyn, and his court are to pay us a visit in 2 days' time, to stay with us through the feast of St. Andrew. Tomorrow we go a-hunting for boar. The king must have a grand feast of welcome when he arrives. Quintain practice is over. A boar hunt is always an event that requires the support of the full household, and you, Alice, Kay, and Arthur rush to follow Ector into the hall to find out what is expected of you. All right, so now we got to go hunting. A knight's life is never easy. All right. Today marks a week before the feast of St. Andrew, and the morning dawns chill and gray. You rise from your customary bed, a soft pile of straw in the corner of the hall that you share with the other pages. Life's tough. We've got it good. And help the squires get the hearth stoked up and other menial tasks. Sir Ector is up and moving about, preparing for the hunt in consultation with Sir Jonas. Hunting is Ector's favorite sport, and he employs a huntsman, a gnarled old specimen called Glyn, to help him in his efforts. Glyn is up in the hall at dawn, along with Dai, the dog boy, to discuss the day's prospects. Considering the season, all agree that boar will be the most likely quarry, but they will not know for certain until they see the tokens. The hunt, you have gathered, has a lexicon all of its own, with words like unharboring, fumes, a bay, and so forth. Although you've seen many hunts set out from Ector's Hall, this is the first time that you have been invited along on one. Your stomach is far too unsettled to take the bread and small ale on offer for the morning's breakfast, or for the morning's fast breaking. Sorry, I got too modern there. Arrangements are made and the hunting party assembles outside the hall. The knights and squires are dressed in their gambesons, thickly quilted cloth armor that provides some small protection against the beasts of the wild. Each carries a special spear called a boar spear, which features a long, sharp iron head, and a sturdy metal crosspiece positioned about 18 inches down the shaft and intended to prevent the wild boar from running up the spear and goring the hunter. Sir Ector has spun fireside tales of companions like Sir Robert Baratheon, lost to the savagery of the boar and its razor-sharp tusks, and your blood runs cold as you think of what it would take to bring down such a wild beast. You walk alongside Dai, who has his hands full managing the estate's pack of baying running hounds. To your other side lopes Aron, the great shaggy Ku, or wolfhound, who is a great favorite of everyone in Ector's household. He is as big as you, but as gentle as a lamb. Oh, doggy. His presence reassures you, for he is as brave and true as any noble knight. The air is fresh from the rains overnight, and you walk across the vale. The clouds begin breaking up, allowing some golden sunlight through. To the east, you see golden rays reflecting off of the surface of Lilin Tegid, the mighty lake that forms the headwaters of the River Dee. It is said that beneath the waves lies a sunken city, and some nights that you can see the lights of the buildings in the depths. At least that's what Kay's always claimed. You and Arthur have snuck out a few times, but you've never seen anything. Apart from the scattered towns and farmlands and their farms and pastures of Sir Ector's estate, most of the vale is light woodland, and you are making for such a patch now. Glyn and his assistants from Caer Guy got a head start earlier, and you see them approach bearing the fumes, the excrement, of a boar inside the rim of their hunting horns. Sir Ector dismounts and confers with the hunter about the best approaches, the location of the boar's lair, and so forth. The air is electric with anticipation. Kay approaches you. You see he is holding a sausage link. He tears it apart with his teeth and offers you half. You should eat something. Hunts can last all day. Kay does have his moments of compassion. As you eat, he explains the different call of the huntsman horn, how it is used to gather the hounds, to signal the hunters, and to announce the death of the quarry, in addition to sundry other uses. Every knight and squire carries a horn, for hunts often range over vast distances, and it is easy to get separated. Arthur has drifted over during the conversation as well, listening to Kay while leaning against a spear. You should stick nearby to me and Sir Ector, says Kay. If you get separated, just listen for our call. Once we've taken the boar, you will help us bring it back to the hall. Just then, Glyn signals the finding, the opening stages of the hunt, where the beast is unharbored and the chase begins. The hounds set up a tremendous racket and nearly pull Dai off his feet as they begin moving towards the woods. The knights mount up, and Kay and Arthur rush towards their horses as well before Arthur turns, and hands his spear to you. In case you run into any trouble, he says, his face grim. You feel a wave of gratitude wash over you. It's not as sophisticated as the knight's boar spears, but it's better than nothing. Gripping the spear, you break off into a trot on foot, keeping up with the knights as you canter towards the woods. Soon you are among the trees, the dead leaves of autumn crunching softly beneath your shoes. The bracken and branches are not so bad here, and you keep an eye on the knights as they press ahead, dog and huntsman in the lead. It is not long before you hear a blast from Glyn's horn. The quarry is found, the chase is on. You see signs of movement deeper in the woods and go that way, your breath ragged in your throat, coming out in great white puffs. More horn blasts, now from multiple hunters, dogs barking and howling, echoing among the trees, shouts fading into the distance. You look around, and you are all alone. Okay. Make an opposed roll of your hunting skill versus the boar's avoidance skill of 10. Okay. This is a reminder of us of what this means. There are two types of ways to roll, opposed and unopposed. Unopposed rolls are a single d20 against one of your correct characteristics. Opposed rolls roll 2 d20s against 2 statistics. Each roll is read the same as an unopposed roll, then the results are compared. If we succeed and our opponent fails, or if we both succeed, but our die roll is higher, this is a win. If our opponent succeeds and we fail, this is a loss. If we succeed, but your opponent's die roll is higher than ours, this is a partial success. If we both fail, it is mutual failure. And if we both roll the same value or both get crits, this is a tie. All right. So our hunting skill is 6. Not great. So I'm going to roll. I got a 19, so it was almost a fumble. And the boar's avoidance roll is 10. Or bonus skill is 10. And he rolled a 15, so he failed. So we both failed, so this is a mutual failure. Right? I think I got that right. Since we both failed the roll. All right. Okay. If you win with your roll, nope. If you fail or lose the roll, go to 39. All right. Well, I guess we lost. It's a mutual failure. We both lost. So I'm going to go 39. You wander the woods for what feels like hours. The day is growing long. Okay, let's think here. Gotta get some forest ambience music here. All right. You wander the wood for what feels like hours. The day is growing long. And from time to time, you hear the distant call of a hunting horn and turn in what you think is the right direction, but then another call sounds from a completely different direction. You are beginning to despair of ever finding your way out of the woods when suddenly you spot a remarkable scene up ahead. A great mossy rock juts from a cliffside. Under the overhang, there is a lean-to hut, its boards green with ragged moss. Green with moss. A ragged hemp cloth curtain hangs in the doorframe. There is no sign of anyone about. Ooh. Do we wish to investigate the hut? Chat. Do we investigate? Poll in the chat. Or do we go back hunting? Remember, we're trying to be nice here, people, and we lost the boar. Okay, you got to think about that. All right, you can't just you can't just rush into these things. You got to be thinking about our future here. Okay. All right. Well, looks like the initial quick out to a quick early win is yes. All right. No contest. Over 80% of you said that we investigate. So we're going to go to 40. We push aside the ragged curtain and enter the hut. There is a pile of straw in the corner that seems to serve as a bed. And the only other pieces of furniture are a 3-legged stool and a small cabinet, both roughly carved. The rock of the cliff overhang forms the ceiling and 3 walls. You see a cave mouth in the far wall, and you can just make out the flickering of feeble flame somewhere within its darkened depth. The sound of chanting is discernible. Interesting. Okay. Back here. All right. Roll religion, and if you succeed, go to 41. Okay. So our religion is 7. Because we improved that. Good thing. Yeah, exactly, Sim. Good thing we popped up that religious skill by 2 points. All right. So, Gareth clutches the crucifix at his neck and whispers a prayer to Saint George, Saint somebody. Hey, we got a 5. I did it. I believe it would have gotten it anyways. Actually, if we had not changed it, it would have been a critical success somehow. I don't know how that works, but we succeeded. Okay. After a few minutes, you recognize the chanting. Someone is reciting lauds, prayers of adoration in Latin. You have heard of holy hermits who sometimes take up lives of sanctified solitude in the woods, and this must be one of those very men. If you wish to enter the hut and find the hermit, go to 42. We've come this far, all right? And we've established, I mean, look at our character, right? He is chaste. He is just. He is merciful. He is spiritual. He has put points into religion. He wants to meet this man, this spiritual guru, if you will. The cave passage is narrow and twisting, and nearly pitch dark. Only the light of the hermit's candles in the chamber ahead make any sort of illumination. You emerge into a makeshift chapel. The chamber is shaped like a beehive, and water drips. There's a little art here. And water drips from cracks in the ceiling, soaking into the pebbly ground. Across from you is a crude altar festooned with images of Christ on the cross, the apostles, and the Virgin Mary. Many small beeswax candles burn on the nooks and railings of the altar. In front, kneeling, is a ragged man, his head bowed. He is whispering and rocking back and forth as he does so, lost in holy ecstasy. Despite the simple surroundings, the room seems filled with an otherworldly sensation. The air seems thicker here, almost sweet. All right. Either choose between or roll against your spiritual and worldly traits. If you roll, you may choose which to roll first. Do not roll against the second trait if you succeed at the first trait. All right. Well, our spiritual trait is pretty amped up, right? We have spiritual 13, so we have a good chance at this. All right, so we are going to roll against spiritual. We rolled a 10, so that is a success. Do not roll against the second trait if you succeed at the first. A crit would have meant we got to place a check. If we succeed at the spiritual trait, go to 43. You kneel and clasp your hands in prayer, listening as the hermit finishes the liturgy. You possess only the most basic knowledge of your faith. Like most members of the gentry, you only attend church on the major holy days and are untutored in your letters. But you feel swept up in the moment and meditate on the effigy of Christ looking down at you from the altar until the hermit concludes. With the final Amen, he stands and turns to face you, smiling. Go to 45. What brings you to my humble chapel, my child? He asks. He is an older man, rugged looking, with a shaggy mop of hair and a bushy beard. Oh, do I have to check spiritual? I did check spiritual. Oh, if you succeed at spiritual, check the trait. Thank you. Look at me trying to... I'm out here trying to sabotage my character. Thanks, Sim. All right. What brings you to my humble chapel, my child? He asks. He is an older man, rugged looking, with a shaggy mop of hair and a bushy beard. Something about his bearing, however, reminds you of Sir Ector. You tell him of your misadventure in the woods and of your separation from your party. The hermit listens with sympathy, then, taking up a large candle and blowing out the rest, leads you back to his cell. I can set you on the right path, he says, a twinkle in his eye. But not before I have fed you and seen to your care. He bids you sit on the solitary stool, then departs and is gone for a quarter hour, returning with a small basket overflowing with freshly picked greens. I have a small garden patch near the stream, he explains. The bounty includes parsley, lettuce, and watercress, all of which he tosses together in a wooden bowl. It reminds me of that line from Into the Woods. I think it's the prologue, right? What the witch says when she's talking about her garden. I'm trying to remember how it goes. Ripping through my... Oh, man, how did it go? I now got to look it up. Well, apparently Google does not know what it is. There we go. There we go. Greens, greens, nothing but greens. Parsley, peppers, cabbages, and celery, asparagus, and watercress, and fiddlefern, and lettuce. And he said, all right, but it wasn't quite, because I caught him in the autumn in my garden one night. He was robbing me, raping me, rutting through my rutabaga, raiding my arugula, ripping up the rampion, my champion, my favorite. I should have laid a spell on him right there. I could have turned him into a stone, or a dog, or a chair. But I let him have the rampion. I had lots to spare. In return, however, I said, fair is fair. You can let me have the baby that your wife will bear, and we'll call it square. Okay, anyways, moving back. He's given us a bowl full of lettuce. All right. All of which he tosses in a wooden bowl. He also has a gourd filled with some fresh stream water, all of which he offers you. You should have some bread as well, he says, and he opens his cabinet door to fetch a half-eaten loaf from within. Your eyes alight upon something else, however. Inside the cabinet, a slightly rusted mail hauberk and a sword in its scabbard. The hermit notices your gaze. Indeed, I was once a knight much like your lord Sir Ector. I held many estates and had a fine wife who blessed me with 12 sons. He pauses. You think he may be on the verge of tears, but he composes himself and continues. I lost all of my sons in just a few short years. The 4 horsemen visited my hearth again and again. When my youngest, my last, when I lost him, I lost myself. I took leave of my senses and lived as a wild man in the woods for months, years. At last I found my wits again thanks to the grace of the Lord. I saw a vision deep in the forest, a silver stag, and between its great antlers, a glowing apparition, a grail, covered in shimmering samite. That is too close to Monty Python vibes for me. I knew myself once again, and knew my life's remaining years were to be devoted to holy contemplation out here in the wilds. The hermit takes a deep breath and smiles back at you again. All done? Good. Let me show you the way back. Thanks to the hermit's directions, you head off in the right direction and soon hear the sound of the mort being blown on the horn. The boar is dead, and damn it, we missed it all. The boar lies dead, its blood soaking into the leaf-strewn ground. The barking and whimpering of the hounds forms a chorus in the background, but they know to hold back. Their reward is soon to come. Sir Ector takes a stout, sharp blade and begins the unlacing of the beast, first disemboweling it before cutting it into 4 quarters plus the head. Some of the boar's insides are now thrown to the dogs, while others are set aside for use in the forthcoming feast. Kay blows a complex pattern on his horn to signal the conclusion to the hunt. Spirits are high, and there is much laughter and singing as the parts are gathered for transport back to the hall. You and Arthur hoist a pole between you, from which hangs the boar's hind quarters. You arrive back at Sir Ector's hall as the sun begins to descend to the horizon and a chill, westerly wind picks up, blowing great clouds across the sky. Within the hearth, fire blazes, and you, Kay, and Arthur warm your hands, beaming at each other. Wash up! Wash up! Barks Sir Ector. No time for dilly-dallying. The king arrives tomorrow, and there is much to be done. The morning dawns under patchy rain clouds. All you want to do is stay snuggled under your bearskin blanket and rest your aching muscles. It's time to roll energetic versus lazy. All right. If you succeed at energetic, we will check our trait. All right. Well, we're 50-50 on this, people. So let's see what we do here. All right. We did not pass with a 19. If you succeed at energetic, check the trait and get up in spite of your weight. I'm so mad at my character right now. Just come on, man. Be a man. Get up. If you succeed at energetic, check the trait and get up in spite of your awareness. If you succeed at lazy, check that instead. Womp, womp, womp. I don't want to be lazy. It's not who I am. Not who I want to be. This role-playing game is making me do things that I wouldn't otherwise do, and it's making me uncomfortable. All right. I mean, to be fair, you know what? Actually, Ayla makes a really good point here. Instead of hunting the boar, I hung out, I sang Latin songs, and I got to eat bread and salad with a hermit dude. So I kind of was being lazy if you think about it. So I have to roll lazy next. I don't know. Got it. Okay, so I got to roll lazy as well. All right, well, I rolled an 11 on lazy, so I failed. So actually, I don't fail any. I fail all of them. So is that how that works? So I actually don't mark this. Okay, it's our choice. All right. I failed both. I'm going to get up. Cool. Thank you, character, for not destroying me. All right. So we do not get accused of being a lazy layabout. All right, good. Returning to the hall around sext noontime, you find the household hard at work, laying out the trestle tables. Right, exactly, Matt. Exactly. I get to pick, but I don't get to check either, right? So returning to the hall around noontime, you find the household hard at work, setting up and laying out the trestle tables and setting up the hall for the grand feast. There is a high table where the king and Sir Ector will sit with their favorite guests, and two other tables set perpendicular to that, forming a rough U shape. Hey, thanks, Quick and Dirty Roleplaying. That's very nice of you to say. Appreciate you being here. That's pretty awesome. Thank you. As the boar meat roasts over the spit, rape bone. What's a rap meat right off the bone? Is that what Gimli says? Lord of the Rings. Filling the hall with mouth-watering aroma. You help Kay and Arthur in setting up the trestles and benches and in laying out fresh hay on the floor. Then Kay, entrusted with his father's keys, retrieves the silver and fine linen from the lockbox in Ector's solar, and the three of you set out the service. Sir Jonas, meanwhile, is busy setting up the dresser, a side table where the food is prepared for presentation at the table. With ritualistic care, he sets out the pewter goblets, ewers, and hanaps. He also sets up the aumbry, a special cupboard where Sir Ector's finest platters are displayed for all to admire. These gold plates, craftily inlaid with pearls and stones, are far too valuable to be used for mere dining. You watch as Ector's tapestries, taken outside for freshening one final time before the onset of winter, are hung again. They depict scenes of hunting, of battle, of courtship, and the finer things in life, crushing your enemies and seeing them driven before you. You have studied these tapestries many times over your years, for they hold the promise of a life ahead, a life of honor, glory, yes, valor. Your reverie is broken by Arthur, who runs into the hall. The king approaches. King Mawen of Penland is a young man, dark of hair, with steely blue eyes and a scruffy beard just thick enough to cover his chin. He is typical of the kings in these parts. He's not covered in shit. More a tribal chieftain and warlord than anything else. He has come with a small train of knights, warriors, ladies, maids, attendants, and grooms, all of whom quickly fill the hall. As Sir Ector bows the king into his hall to the accompaniment of trumpet fanfare, offering him rose water to wash his hands and face, your gaze falls upon the most remarkable member of the king's entourage, a dirty runt of a boy, dressed in goat skins, a herder by the looks of him. He catches your gaze, winks at you, then disappears amongst the throng. Your attention is drawn by Sir Jonas, who serves as steward, an officer who oversees the estate's food. Fields and flocks. He is doling out assignments for the pages and squires. Roll courtesy. All right. If our lazy trait succeeded earlier, we were at -5, but it didn't succeed. It failed. So we're just rolling courtesy here. And our courtesy is 10. We put 3 points into courtesy. I think that's because we're Kimrick, but we'll see how it goes. 7. If you succeed, check the skill and go to 57. Now, this is not an opposed skill, so we can just mark courtesy. Huzzah! We're not horrible. All right. Your spirits soar as Sir Jonas tells you that he thinks you have grown courteous enough to serve at the table. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is what role-playing games are for. We have been chosen to serve at the table. That's right. What a victory for the little guy. What a victory for Gareth. Okay. You stand by as food is brought out by other pages from the kitchen and laid on the dresser. The roasted boar's head is mouth stuffed with the small russet apples native to Penland is the centerpiece of the high table. Your job is to prepare and serve hippocras, a hot spiced wine popular during the colder months. You have done this before for Sir Ector at Yuletide and go about your new duty with practiced ease. Having filled a pitcher, you begin moving amongst the knights and ladies who keep you very busy filling their cups. The aroma of the food already out on the table is intoxicating and your stomach grumbles resentfully. You know that you will have to wait until after the feast for your portion, but this is cold comfort as your eyes wander over roasted boar and ginger sauce, marrow fritters and meat jellies, lampreys, oh, those are delicious, in sauce, custard tarts, almond omelets, herb fritters, sliced cheeses, and haslet, the roasted entrails and genitals of the boar. Mouth-watering. We need some kind of distraction from all this food. Ooh, chat. Do we wish to try to impress the nobles of the court, or would we prefer to eavesdrop on the high table? All right. I'm not going to roll to find out. I'm going to poll to find out. This is the other. There's a new type of role-playing game. Role-playing game by voting. Now, this could be big for us, people. This could be big. I'm going to give this one an extra minute, just because my voice could use a break, too. Let's get some... let's see here. Wow, everybody is really sneaky. Gareth is modest, this is true, but you know, he also is distracted by the pageantry of it all. All right, we've got 63% coming in with drop Eves. So we are going full Samwise Gamgee on this bitch, and we are going to drop some Eves. Here we go. As you move among the revelers, you do your best to stay invisible. This is what is expected of a page serving at table, of course, but it also allows you to eavesdrop on the conversation of various lords and ladies. Most of the talk seems to be centering on some sort of upcoming event in Londinium. Make an unopposed intrigue roll to find out what you overhear. All right, our intrigue is that a skill? It is. Natural 7. Here we go. It bounced out of the ball. Bounced out of the box. Doesn't count. 7! 7. That's a crit. I think, right? Intrigue 7. 7. 7. It's a critical hit. All right. Sick. We get to see what happens. Do we get to make a check? Oh, no. The one time we don't get to make a check. That's some bullshit. All right. So I guess we get to hear all the good shit. You know what this is like? I just succeeded at my recall knowledge check. I actually get to learn what the plot is. All right. Sir Ector, will you fight in... I guess it must be the king that's saying this. Sir Ector, will you fight in the Londinium tournament? Ah, yes, but I have no ambition to be High King. But your son, Kay, will be knighted by then, yes? Will he fight? If he wishes. As long as he stayed out of the King Lot's way, Lot covets the crown above all else, or so I hear. All this trouble of a tournament just because the Supreme Collegium cannot seem to make up its mind. Well, there's always that sword in the courtyard at St. Paul's, the one stuck in the stone. I heard it was an anvil. Well, whatever it is, none have pulled it forth as of yet. I think it is just a devilish prank of old Merlin. The one time I crit. Doesn't do anything. Wait, what is that? Go to 74. Oh, I guess the feast is over. What happened? Did I break something here? What happened? 71 goes to 74. 72 goes to 74. They all go to 74. Okay. It has been a month. All right, I got to change the music here. We're outside of the feast hall, man. We that shit got real. All right. All right, let's see here. Okay. It has been a month since you left home in the company of Sir Ector, Sir Kay. Oh, I got to change the lights here. We get it. It has been a month since you left home in the company of Sir Ector, Sir Kay, and Arthur. And for the entire time, you have endured chill wind and rain and blowing snow, leaving you wet, cold, and miserable. You have thought often of home, dreaming of the warmth of the hearth and good company. Alice made you promise to tell her of the sights of Londinium, so you at least have that much to look forward to when you return, at least. Your journey began on the rough trail that follows the course of the River Dee out of Penland to the City of Legions. You did not longer linger long in that thriving seaport with its merchants and travelers from all over the world, or so it seemed to you. Before turning southeast along the old Roman road to the kingdom of Cameliard. At Carohase Castle, you turned south and entered the great kingdom of Logris, passing over the Chiltern Hills and through the Roman cities of Corinium and Silchester. The latter part of the journey has been unsettling. Like riding through enemy territory, thanks to the constant threat of Saxon raiders in this region. Since the defeat of King Nantolod of Escavilon at the Battle of Netley Marsh 2 years ago, the Saxon kings of the southeast coast have grown increasingly bold. Sir Ector has plenty to say about the current political situation during your journey. What you have managed to absorb is that the fractious warlords of Britain are doomed to fall one by one to the ambitious Saxons, and that the land is in desperate need of a leader who can unify everyone. Nantelode was the last and best hope for someone to accomplish this by force of arms. Now, by mutual agreement, a tournament is to be held at the old capital city of Londinium on the border of the Saxon kingdoms. The winner, it has been agreed, will be named High King with great expectations to bring the Saxons to heel. Last night, you slept in the stables of Castle Staines, where you were surprised to find that the steward in service to Sir Ulfius, the famous Duke of the Vale, was himself a Saxon. Ector explains to you that the Saxons of the county of Barak have long been allies of the Cymry, your people. All right. It's the kings and warlords, Saxon and Cymry alike, who visit so much woe upon our lands, he said with a sigh, staring into the hearth fire of the great hall. You and Arthur listen attentively. The Saxons have their own style of king, which they call a Bretwalda. Their kings fight among themselves as much as they fight us. And our own counts and dukes, inheritors of the proud Cymric and Roman traditions, lay siege to each other's castles or usurp thrones from those too weak to hold their claim. Everyone scrambles for a prize, and for what? Power and wealth. That is all they care for. This morning, you were already on the road when the sun came up and the day dawned cold, but clear, over frost-rimmed fallow fields. It is around midday when you catch sight of Londinium, situated on the mighty river Thames, the greatest city in all of Britain. Its stout Roman walls present an impressive edifice, and within you see countless rooftops, towers, church spires, as well as the truly magnificent Basilica of St. Paul. How can so many people live so close together? Asks Arthur in wonder, echoing your own thoughts. Several Roman roads feed into Londinium. The one you are on, Watling Street, forms the northern border of this year's big tourney grounds. Okay. Right. Several Roman roads feed into Londinium. The one you are on, Watling Street, forms the northern boundary of the grounds marked out for this year's big New Year's tournament. You see a veritable town made of tents, riotous in color, hosting many of the visiting knights and lords due to the fight on the morrow. The excitement in the street is palpable. Watling Street passes through the city walls at Newgate, which, despite its name, is centuries old. Riding beneath the gate, you notice a niche at the apex of the arch. A carven relief. Oh my gosh, so many text. Depicting the Trojan hero Sir Corinius overthrowing the giant Gorgamog. Sir Ector told you this story during your journey, and you reflect that ever since the arrival of Brutus and his Trojans, Britain has seen many waves of invaders from across the sea. You are shaken from your reveries by the sight of the street beyond the gate. Buildings as high as 3 stories crowd in from either side, and in the street itself throng men, women, children, horses, asses, dogs, pigs, all what seems to be a great swirling tumult of jostling, shouting, squealing, braying racket. "Kay, go see about the lodgings. That's a good lad," says Ector, seeming a bit overwhelmed himself. "We will wait for you in the courtyard of St. Paul's, just ahead." There is little need for Ector to point out the location of the famous cathedral, for it easily is the greatest structure in the city, dwarfing even the citadel of the White Tower and Lude's Castle, the 2 great Roman stone forts on the banks of the Thames. So Sir Kay and Arthur carefully guide their mounts through the throngs as you and Ector make for the cathedral. As soon as you enter the courtyard, the noise and chaos of the city seem to fade. You dismount grateful for an opportunity to stretch your sore muscles, and then begin tending to the horses. You have barely started on your task when Sir Ector calls you over to some sort of monument erected right outside the cathedral's front doors. As you approach, you see a strange marvel. A great stone block surmounted by an anvil. It's a sword and a stone, people. We're here. Oh my God. Driven into the anvil is a sword, still bright and sparkling in the sunlight. Sir Ector brushes aside a bit of snow on the shaded side of the block and points to some letters that are carved into the rock. Like most members of the knightly class, you lack clerical education and do not know your letters. Nor does Sir Ector, for that matter. But he has heard others tell of the inscription's words. It says something like, "Only the true king can pull me forth," or words to that effect. Many knights, including the best in the land, have tried, but all say that it will not budge in the slightest. All right, chat, do we encourage Sir Ector, or do we pull it ourselves? So who's going to pull? Ector or Gareth Strongheart? All right, chat. Let me know. Let's review our character sheet. Let's be characterly appropriate here. We are chaste. We are forgiving. We are honest. We are just. We are merciful. We are modest. Okay, we're modest. What are we're bad at? We're a little reckless. This is true. We are a little reckless. We're reckless and selfish. Those are the two places where we actually have a little bit of negativity. Yeah. You know what? I think we pull this motherfucker. I think we're pulling this bitch. All right, let's go. I don't know if his name is Strongheart. I just made that up, but, you know. All right, we're going to pull it ourselves. Go to 77. As Sir Ector strolls over to examine the relief carvings around the doors to the cathedral, you approach the sword in the stone. This is actually kind of cool. With a quick look around, you reach out and take hold of the hilt. Pull 3 blocks. The white leather wrapping feels cold in your hands. You pull as hard as you can, but what Ector says is true. It feels as if the sword is fused with the great iron block of anvil. That was mighty presumptuous of us. Check proud and go to 78. Oh no. All right. Sir Kay enters the courtyard. I found an inn with a room available. Last one in Londinium, or so the old crone who runs the place claims. Father, I think every knight in Britain has come for this tournament. Kay's eyes are bright with excitement. As the shock of the city has begun wearing off, you can understand why. Save for Rome and Jerusalem, Londinium must be the greatest city in the world. The excitement is infectious. You help lead your mounts through the streets to the inn stables, get them unpacked, settled in, and report back to Sir Ector outside the inn. I'll expect you'll want to be seeing the city then. Take the afternoon to explore, but mark that you are back by supper time. You cannot believe your fortune. Oh, sorry. We cannot believe our fortune, as he hands us 2 silver pennies. Just in case you find a souvenir, he says with a wink. We have a few hours to explore one of the world's great capitals. What would we like to do? Wow. Chat, do we want to go examine the tournament grounds outside the city, or we prefer to wander the streets? I want to go to the tournament grounds. Let's go. 91. To the east of Londinium proper, between the Watling Street and Fleet Street, a large area of untilled fields has been marked for the New Year's tournament. The concept of a tournament was the subject of much debate between Sir Ector and Sir Kay here. It is something new, something unfamiliar, and so Ector is naturally suspicious. "'Tis but a Frankish thing, a custom from the continent," he would sniff derisively. "No substitute for a proper battle. You use blunt weapons, you know. Where's the challenge in that?" "We use blunt weapons when we practice at home," Kay would counter. I'm rather looking forward to the opportunity to go up against some of the greatest knights in Britain without having to risk life and limb. It sounds like jolly good fun. Besides, we do enough of the real thing. Too much, if you ask me. These tournaments, if they catch on, could be a good way for us to work out our aggressions without having to go to war all the time. Now, you walk the grounds, spotting several interesting sights to explore. Looking at the tents, so Kay was, he's only like 17 or 16 or something like that. He was all full of himself when he was back home, but now here in Londinium, he's like an excited little kid. He's seeing all the sights and sounds. Yeah, so he's showing his immaturity a little bit. Kay was totally Pocono an hour ago. That is 100% correct. Then there is the market. And by the way, I'll be honest, side tangent, that is the true gift of the voice actor. Okay? It is not that they can make up a voice. I mean, that some people maybe have a hard time doing that, but the key is consistency. That is very tough. So we got the target. Okay. Where we would like to go. We can stroll amongst the knights' tents. We can check out the market and animal fights. Sheesh. We can see what's going on with the squires in the corral. If we have suffered an injury, Jesus Christ, when did that happen? If we have seen enough for the day. I want to go to see the knights. The tent city hosts the overflow of knights and their entourages who could not find lodging in the city. Row upon row of colorful tents and pavilions, from tiny to palatial, create a veritable labyrinth populated by martial men and women, peasants fluttering from each tent pole to display the arms of the knights residing within. Squires run to and fro on missions for their lords. Knights sit outside their tents, chatting with compatriots, strumming their harps, or playing games of skill to pass the time. You pause outside of one large tent, partly colored yellow and blue, which you recognize as a heraldry of the Count of Salisbury. A knight is stepping out of the tent, and although you realize you are blocking the way, you cannot help but gawp. Although you are aware that women may become knights, they are almost unheard of where you can come from. But here, in the flesh, is a woman knight. It's Brienne of Tarth. She is obviously a veteran of many years fighting. Her steel hair nearly matches the iron of her armor. Her hands are rough and knotted, and you spot a couple of small but nasty scars on her face. Following her is a young man, about Arthur's age. It's Podrick, but dressed as a knight. He is almost the mirror image of her. Fresh-faced, unblemished, but he shares her martial bearing, and they are clearly at ease with each other. It is also intuitively obvious that he is her social better. I want to talk to the woman knight. This might be a faux pas, but we'll see. You give the woman knight a courteous bow. A well-mannered young squire, she says. You could teach a few others around here a thing or two about deference and courtesy. Using your methods, Dame Aspera, asks her young companion, winking. If I feel the sting of your rod across the back of my neck, I still feel the sting of your rod across your neck. It was good enough for your father, and it is good enough for you, too. Nonsense. You fought alongside my father. You never tutored him. No, but we still taught each other much about the ways of the sword and lance, and what it meant to be a knight. Those lessons raise welts and scars, tend to last longer than those that do not. Fair enough, I suppose. Before you can stop yourself, you blurt out a question. You served under King Uther, then? Aspara's face grows dim. 2 kings, in fact. I first swore my sword to King Aurelius, the Pendragon. May the saints preserve him. And his brother, Uther, yes. You sense that you have touched upon a sensitive topic, but she gives you a smile to show that there are no hard feelings. I take my service very seriously. I am a descendant of the Amazons, you know. My ancestors served the Romans in Cornwall and Brittany, and I will continue that tradition and honor their memory in every word and deed. If you've already talked to Dame Aspera's companion or do not wish to, go to 92. I don't really care about him. Where would we like to go? All right. We don't need to do this. Let's go. It's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna say that we've seen enough for the day. I'm going to go to 121. The day, which has began so early and full of wonders, is catching up with you at last. Your senses budging, you make your way back to the inn and collapse into sleep at the foot of Sir Ector's bed. Tomorrow, the tournament will begin in earnest, and by the end of the day, Britain will have a new High King. Ooh. Let's see here. All right. The day dawns overcast and cold. The day dawns overcast and cold, but the city is already up to greet the weak sun. Such is the excitement for the New Year's tournament. Your morning at the inn is spent in a flurry of activity, gathering the equipment needed for the tournament fight, helping Sir Ector prepare his hauberk, helm, and shield, feeding and preparing his charger down in the stables, that and countless other tasks which keep you running non-stop until the sun is peeking up over the rooftops. Arthur is every bit as harried and hurried in his duties for Sir Kay, so it is with some sense of relief that you both mount your rounceys and fall in line behind your knights. You exchange smiles. Jesus Christ, this is supposed to be medieval? You exchange smiles, letting your agitation give way to excitement. Along the way, Sir Ector briefs you. We are to be divided into two cohorts, the Red Knights and the Blue Knights, and will fight a mock battle called a melee. Knights earn tally marks for performing great deeds on the field, such as knocking an opponent off their horse, taking a foe captive, or even performing a particularly thrilling display of martial prowess. The Lord Mayor of Londinium himself and the guild masters of the city sit as judges and keep records of our marks. At the end of the day, the knight with the most tally marks is declared the Knight of Honor, and in this instance will be acclaimed the new king, High King of Britain. As squires, you are to ride onto the field with us, but you are not to fight. Your job is to hold back and look for ways to assist us, to replace a broken lance, to drag us off the field if we are knocked out, or to escort any prisoners we capture back to the receipt, which is our end of the field. Our head spins with all the rules and new duties, but you are determined to do right by Sir Ector. As the tournament grounds, a large, noisy scrum has formed. What happened? Okay, there we go. Around tables where harried heralds are assigning overexcited knights to their cohorts, Ector and Kay dismount and take their place at the back of the mob when you notice that Ector is without his sword. You grab it from his charger and hustle forth to help him keep it belted around his waist. He grunts in approval. Oh, I see where this is going. Welp, fetch my sword, says Kay absent-mindedly. Arthur turns pale. I forgot it back at the inn, Kay. Kay's face turns crimson with anger. Oh, Arthur, says Ector disapprovingly. Quick now, there's a good lad. Go back and get it, or your brother will be without a sword on the field. Arthur is off like a dart, shouting promises to be back with the sword in a twinkling. Minutes pass by. Ector and Kay give their names to the heralds and are assigned to the Red Knights. Kay keeps looking around for Arthur with murderous eyes. What could be keeping that inattentive fool? He turns to you. Go, find the whelp and bring him back with my sword, or so help me. You do not need to be told twice. Most of Londinium is at the tournament, and you run through Newgate and down the city's empty streets. It's quiet and a touch eerie. Your heart is in your throat when you reach the inn. You find Arthur, but he sits against the front door, head on his folded knees. He looks up at your approach, and you can see that his eyes are rimmed red. They close the inn. He wails and bangs on the door with his fist. Everyone is at the tournament. I can't get Kay's sword. Oh, what am I to do? Your mind races, and several solutions suggest themselves. You should try to break into the inn. This is an emergency, and surely the Lord would forgive some petty larceny in the name of fetching King's sword. But then you suddenly remember there is another sword that no one is using, the one in the cathedral courtyard. Ah, I do not want to break in. I wish to tell Arthur about the sword in the stone. You pull Arthur to his feet. Sir Ector showed me another sword in the courtyard of Sir Paul's down yonder. But you were about to say it was stuck in an anvil. But before you can even finish your sentence, Arthur bolts down the empty streets towards the citadel, or towards the cathedral. He will see for himself soon enough, you say as you take off after him. You approach the empty courtyard gate, in time to see Arthur approaching the sword in the stone. His hand extended. A light snow begins to fall. You watch as he steps up to the stone, reaches out, and lightly closes his hand around the sword's hilt. There is the sound of steel scraping on metal, and your mouth falls open as Arthur pulls the sword straight out of the anvil as if it were from an oiled scabbard. Arthur's face splits into a wide grin, and he beams at you. You've saved my skin, no mistake, he says, and off he goes again, this time back to the tournament grounds. You follow in mute shock. Surely someone must have loosened it. You arrive back at the tournament grounds to find Sir Kay pacing up and down the sidelines. Most of the knights are already on the field, and the sound of the cheering crowd fills your ears. The melee has begun. What in the name, is this Kay? Yeah. What in the name of Jisoo took you so long? He bellows. In the next moment, he sees the sword in Arthur's hand. And whose sword is that? I found it, Kay, Arthur says, fighting for breath. It's a good sword. I promise. Kay takes the sword in his hand and gives it a couple swings, looking impressed despite his anger. Before he can say anything, though, Sir Ector rides up, practically jumping off his horse. Kay, where did you get that sword? His eyes are wide with astonishment. I found it, father, says Kay without hesitation. You found it? Says Ector, somewhat incredulous. Well, no, he did. Kay points to Arthur, and Ector takes the youngest son by the shoulders, looking him square in the eye. Is what Kay said true, son? His voice husky with emotions. Yes, father. Please do not be mad at me. This is all my fault. I stole the sword from the courtyard of St. Paul's. I shall put it back at once if you'll only let me. Arthur wails of protest draw the attention of several nearby knights who themselves have not yet entered the melee. One, an aging man of regal bearing who wears the arms of Camelland on his surcoat, rushes forward. What's that? He's drawn it! The sword! The sword in the stone! Others quickly take up the cry. The sword! He's drawn the sword! The news spreads like fire across the ripened wheat fields. I don't believe it. I have to see this for myself. Make him draw it again. To the churchyard. Then all is madness, and a throng of people surges around the tournament grounds towards the city. Sir Ector throws Arthur onto the back of the nervous Rouncy. Ride for who is this, me? Sir Ector. Ride for St. Paul's and put the sword back, lad. Put it back, Ector says with fear in his eyes. You'd be best to do the same, lest you be trampled. Hop on. You swing into the saddle as Arthur and join the rest of the knights streaming towards the new gate. Fortunately, with your head start, you can avoid the worst of the press. Murmuring crowds of horses, commoners, clergymen, knights, squires, lords, and ladies pack St. Paul's Cathedral and surround the cathedral steps in a wide arc. Luckily, you and Arthur make it just in time before they all arrive. You dismount and approach with Arthur. A single horn sounds. The crowd suddenly grows quiet, and you see two wizened old men being escorted from the rectory to the top of the cathedral stairs behind the anvil. One is dressed in a gilded bishop's cassock, the other in ragged, filthy robes. Don't know what's happening here. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. It's the Archbishop, Saint Dubricius. Someone shouts from the crowd. Ave Sanctus Dubricius! Ave! Cries a pious Roman lady, hands clasped. The old man kindly smiles and makes the sign of the cross in the air. Dozens of people drop to their knees to accept the blessing. And that's Merlin, the archdruid of Britain, standing next to him. Why is he here? Says Hector with a haunted look. Finally, catching up to you, Arthur, with a mounted Sir Kay behind you. You notice that Merlin and Hector are looking at each other with deep meaning. Then, with the crowd looking on, Arthur replaces the sword. It slips back into its slot in the anvil with a metallic hiss. He steps back and watches the courtyard fill with more knights, fresh from the tournament melee. Many are dripping sweat. Most nurse minor wounds. Arthur looks very young all of a sudden beside the sword and the stone. A mighty man, built, powerful of build and arrogant of aspect, jumps from his saddle. You know this man by reputation. It is King Lot of Lothian, one of the great warriors in all of Britain. He shoves Arthur aside. If this thing is going to move, it'll move for me, he declares to the crowd. Lot, 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 his household knights chant in encouragement. He grabs the hilt with both mailed hands and puts all of his bear-like strength into the effort, but the sword will not move. He tries again, with no success, his face now red with exertion and frustration. Let the boy try, shouts someone. Was it Merlin? And then many more in agreement. Yes, let the boy try. Lot stares down at Arthur with angry eyes and steps aside to rejoin his knights. Sir Hector, now beside Arthur, nods to him, and Arthur lays one hand gently upon the sword and easily pulls it from the anvil. The crowd, noble and commoner alike, gasps. He then slides it back into place. Another knight dismounts and shouts, It's my turn! I, King Uriens of Gore, shall pull the sword! He forces his way to the rock, and like Lot before him, Uriens grabs the sword and tugs, pulls, and tries to manhandle it free, but he giving his full armored shoulder to the task, but the sword will not budge. As Urien walks away flustered, the lad once again steps up and pulls the sword effortlessly free. The High King, shouts someone. He's the High King! It's the prophecy! The boy drew the sword, shouts King Leodegrance to the crowd. This boy is the Pendragon. A few people in the crowd lower to their knees. Not while I live, shouts Lot, who draws his own sword and strides towards Arthur. His bodyguards dismount and fall into place a few steps behind him. You were the one who saw Arthur pull the sword the first time. You now see Lot advancing with murder in his eyes. You know the right thing to do is to speak up in Arthur's defense, but can you summon the courage in this moment of decision? Forgot we were playing a game. All right, we are going to make a valorous versus cowardly 15 versus 5. All right. Valorous gets a 15 critical hit. Cowardly gets a 14, so it fails. So we succeeded Valorous? Hell yeah. It doesn't even say that we get any bonus for critting, but we're taking it. So we got a crit versus a failure. We absolutely succeed. Super Valor. We are Valor incarnate. By the way, remember that was the one that we chose for our oh no, I think it was default by 15. Wait! You cry, arms wide, standing between King Lot and Arthur. Lot halts, turning his furious gaze on you. You swallow hard, then continue. I saw Arthur, this youth here, pull the sword the first time. None of you could pull it when you tried. He is our new king. Lot takes 2 steps forward and strikes you with his mailed left hand, inflicting 6 points of damage. Yikes. I guess we're at 21. It's like being struck by a boulder. You feel your back teeth crack. Ow, fuck. And you drop to the ground as blood gushes from a gash on your cheek. The blow ignites the passions of all assembled, and a terrific melee breaks out from knights of many different types as they rush towards the cathedral steps. Through a sickening red haze, you see Arthur pull the blade once more, and it seems to your eyes that the steel flashes with a strange ghost light. Arthur then steadies himself and defends himself against King Lot. Now, King Leodegrance and his man, a half a dozen other knights, swarm between King Lot and Arthur. The boy drew the sword. He is by right the Pendragon of Britain. No beardless boy shall ever be my king. Nor mine, says someone, nor mine. I say he is my king. And he suddenly turns towards Arthur and proffers his sword. Arthur, with tears streaming down his face, gently takes it, saying with a strangely mature countenance, as I am king, I accept your offer. Lot, seeing that he and his men are surrounded and outnumbered, throws his blunted sword to the ground with a clatter. I'll be back with a sword that will not fail me, he says, baring his teeth and leaping across his horse. His guards pivot and spur their steeds, nearly trampling those left in the crowd. Others are doing the same, and a reproachful howl comes up from the crowd as they go. Hail, King Arthur, shouts Sir Ector, thrusting his sword aloft. The whelp, cries Sir Kay, looking astonished. Hail, King Arthur, echoes the crowd. And now Kay joins in, as in again. Hail, King Arthur, and again, Hail, King Arthur. You look up to see Archbishop Dupercus on the cathedral steps and catch him nodding and smiling at Merlin, who smiles back and bows his head. Merlin's eyes suddenly dart to you, and he winks at you and then disappears among the throng. Nice little full art action there. You shake your head in amazement at the cheering crowds who have now lifted Arthur onto their shoulder. It looks like your dear friend Arthur, with whom you have shared a bench, mucked stables, and polished armor, is now to be the High King of Britain, which goes to show you, right? It's not what you do. It's not what you know. It's who you know, right? We better be on the up and up for this, okay? We better be on the up and up in this. Nepotism is ripe in feudal Britain. Let's go. But what will your fate be, young squire? If you successfully freed the bull, tried to pull the sword from the stone for Arthur, I did, or defended Arthur against King Lot, I did, go to 135. We must knight you first, I suppose, Sir Ector says to Arthur amongst the jostling and tumult. Arthur nods slowly as everything sinks in and then turns to you. And I will need a squire I can trust, he says with a twinkle in his eyes. You grin at each other. You have 7 years of service as the king's squire ahead of you, and in time you may well be knighted. Your actions during this adventure presage your future. What kind of knight would you like to be? All right, story awards. All right, I'm going to need your guys' help for this one. All right, so we get. Hold on a sec here. All right, so we get +2 for each skill check. Does anybody remember how many skill checks we made? Let's see. Remember, skills are here. We made, I think we made a religion check, and we made a courtesy check, and we made an awareness check. And I think that's it. Oh, did we make a hunting check? No, we made a hunting check. Oh, for each skill check. Oh, okay. Sorry. Never mind. All right. So we get 2. Sorry. That's okay. Check boxes. You're right. Okay. All right. Yep. +2 for each skill check. +2. All right. For each passion, we got that honor check, baby. +3. +2 for each chivalrous trait check. So we got 1, 2, 3 chivalrous traits. So that's +6. +1 for any other trait check except as noted below. Well, we had proud, so +1. +2 if you killed the board single-handedly. Okay, well, we did not do that. +3 if a noblewoman gave you her favor. Well, that did not happen. Oh, spiritual is not chivalrous. Okay. Sorry. So we got valorous and modest. So this should be 4 and 2. Right? Okay. Thank you. +1 for each round you withheld damage dice in the bohort. Nope, didn't do that. +1 for each opponent you defeated. Nope. +2 if you told Arthur about the sword and the stone. We did. +3 if you tried to retrieve the sword and the stone before Arthur. Hell yeah, we did that. +3 if you defended Arthur in the face of King Lot's anger. We did that and we got punched in the face. +5 if Arthur made you his squire. -5 if you lingered in the lands of the good folk. I did not do that. -1 for each check, opposed to a religious. Oh, okay. So this actually is only 1 because. So we had modest and valorous, which was worth 4. Spiritual was worth 1. So this is actually 5. And then we marked proud, which is opposite of a religious or chivalrous trait. So it's -1. Okay. If you were tardy returning to Sir Ector after exploring the city. We did not. We returned. We only did one event, and then we didn't have to return. Our bohort opponent did not die. We did not break into the inn, and we did not stay quiet. All right, let's add it up here. So we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 23. -1 is 22 points, boys and girls. How do we do? All right, well, we are not an esquire. We are not a household knight. We are not a vassal knight. We are not a banneret. Nay, we are a knight of the round table. You are knighted by Sir Ector or King Arthur and go on to a great career. You are among the first to receive the personal invitation of the king to join his esteemed martial order, the Knights of the Round Table. A few years hence, your name is destined to be remembered in tales. So there we go. Gareth the stout-hearted shall join the table of, and you know what? I made up that name in the middle of it, but I think we can all agree, that we're pretty stout-hearted, right? We're pretty stout-hearted. Like I think our character, showed some respect. So there's a couple things here. Obviously, we did this unexpectedly. I was originally just going to go through the, character or through the rule book, and just kind of, page through the rule book with you all and kind of go through all these different rules and stuff like that. But I think we got a pretty good sense, more or less about what, how the game works. I'm sure there's, a ton more details about it, but there's a couple of things that I think are really, important to notice here. One is, this to me is very much like Legend of the Five Rings. And what I mean by that is, they mentioned several times in here that when you play Legend of the Five Rings, right? You're like, oh, it's a samurai. We're going to go out and, it's going to be like Dynasty Warriors, or it's going to be like Onimusha, right? No. Combat is part of what a samurai does, but a samurai is a noble. They are the ruling class. They are the martial class. They are the warriors of the land, but they are also the nobles. And so Legend of the Five Rings as a samurai, it is just as important that your character can wield a quill pen as they can a sword, that they can write poetry as well as they can, wield a katana. So the game rules, the mechanics. Hey, thank you, Henry.
Henry tipped $25. Congratulations, Gareth, Knight of the Round Table.
It does sound sweet, actually. But like Legend of the Five Rings mechanically supports that style of gameplay. Like your samurai is expected to be a noble, honorable warrior. And we saw through this, intro adventure that there are going to be a lot of scenes as the knight, it's not going to be you going out and fighting Saxons all the time. There's going to be like tournaments and feasts and political intrigue, right? Like this is a game that is very much like a kind of a, if, we call Legend of the Five Rings, we sometimes call it a fantasy Bushido simulator. This is like a Arthurian chivalry simulator. You're not just playing in that, world. You're also focusing on the challenges and the things that real knights would have dealt with. They kind of overloaded us with it during this one shot where they really were telling us all about like, all the details of the medieval world. But yeah, like it's not just fighting, right? It's not like a modern day action movie, right? In that regard, you're a knight, you're a noble, and there's a lot more to being a noble than just fighting. That might be like the definitive role that you've carved out for yourself in terms of martial prowess. But I think that is very, very cool and very, very interesting that they stand out about it. Ryan says to take a look at the appendices because we'll see that there are there's a lot of stuff going on in there about them. So let's take a look. Yeah. So, and remember, this isn't even the rule book. This is the starter book, and it comes with a full campaign. But this is a whole appendix that comes just in the starter set about, how tournaments work and that tournaments are going to be part of the game. Let's see what Appendix B is. Okay, battle. All right, that is something that'll happen. But I also, I got punched for 6 damage. I got to imagine getting hit with a sword or a lance is going to be a lot worse. And our character didn't have that many hit points. So, and it looks like hit points are decided by strength plus size. So, or a con plus size. So 15 plus 12 is 27. I don't think those are going to be changing a lot. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably like Legend of the Five Rings where, it's scary. Sim with a $5 super chat. As I said before, feasts, Yuletide court, and management of your lands figures as much as battles, if not more. In fact, I can already see the similarities here because in Legend of the Five Rings, you have this thing called the Winter Court, which is like, because nobody can battle in the wintertime, all of the nobles meet once a year. Is one noble's palace is chosen to host the Winter Court. And basically everyone sends delegates to it to try to hash out who's going to be, who's going to war and who's making peace for the coming year. So anyways, it's very, very interesting that it feels like that. Now, obviously what stood out the most was this idea of using, our traits against ourselves. And, here's an example character. This is a full character sheet because again, the game comes with 8 of these. And, again, I don't know I don't know the GM, I don't know the GM rules and all this other stuff, but we saw plenty of situations where as your character becomes more, valorous or forgiving or merciful, there are going to be situations in the game where they remove that choice from you. And you will literally have to test against yourself to determine what you need to do. And it's funny because this is built into the game, but it really reminds me of when we were playing Legend of the Five Rings. And very famously, we've told the story a couple times. So, but Aaron's first samurai character that he made was sort of like arrogant. And then he realized that his arrogance was going to cost this town potentially their lives. And his samurai was really grappling with that. And he was contemplating, committing seppuku. And Aaron, on his own behalf, I didn't prompt him to do this. He had to make a meditation check against himself in order to see whether he would commit seppuku or not. Well, in Pendragon, you have this same concept, but spread over all of these chivalric virtues, right? And we get to see how your character is one way or the other. And I like too, by the way, that once your character starts being chaste or starts being merciful, as the game rules suggested, that's the way that those numbers go up by, behaving in that manner automatically. You're going to get to the point where these virtues become so high that your character is going to kind of basically be in a place where they're locked in and they are going to be able to, they're not going to be able to make as a PC, as the player, you are not going to be able to make decisions for certain aspects of your character. Your PC will literally be calling the shots. Now, this is something that I think is very, very interesting, because this to me is a role-playing game, which is to say it's a game about role-playing. And I think that is really, really, really interesting, because role-playing is all about, for me, it's about making decisions and acting in a way that maybe I would not do. And, in a sense, it's kind of the role of the actor, right? Well, what if think about an actor? An actor doesn't make up their own lines. The actor is given a script. The actor is given a character. Someone else decides this is who this character is. It's your job as an actor to bring that script to life. Traits are sort of like that third-party writer. It's your PC telling you, the player, you need to play me like this now. Some people talk about rolling your diplomacy check first. I think that's a great in like Pathfinder or D&D, right? Making your diplomacy check first, seeing the results, learning from the game master whether you succeeded or failed, and then describe what your character is saying and what they're doing, or if you want to speak in character, what you say. Because that avoids that really awkward part, right? Where you give this really great impassioned speech, and then the GM asks for a diplomacy check and you roll a 2 and it's like, wah, wah, wah. No. But if you had rolled the 2 beforehand, the game is telling you you're going to fail this. And you're like, why would I fail this? I would make a really compelling speech. And it's like, well, no, that's the challenge of the game. That's the fun of the role playing, is the game is telling you that, hey, nope, you need to do something different. And the fun part is figuring out a way to describe your character's actions that are in alignment with that. So traits take that to just a whole other level. And I think that's really, really interesting. It's a little bit scary. I can totally see where people would be very off-put by that. But I think it's really, really cool. Sim with another $10 super chat. In the new edition, they are going to be publishing the Grand Campaign, split into several books, each covering different 10 to 15 year periods in the entire 80+ year epic story. It used to just be one huge book. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's really, really cool. This idea of Arthurian history isn't like real history, but it's kind of like alternate history. It's like alternate history, right? This sort of like, because again, there's a lot of elements here, Saxons, Anglo-Saxons, French people, the continent, we're on Britain, Christianity. It feels much more rooted in like our real world. So there's almost a sense of historicalism to it, but it's not, it's got magical swords that are gleaming like sunlight. And of course, it's King Arthur. So I think that's really, really, really interesting. And I believe, I could be wrong here, but I think everybody in the game is a knight. And that's pretty cool. Yeah, by the way, remember we were talking about our hit points? Look at this. Look how much damage a lance does. Holy crap. That's insane. And to be clear, Mike, you said good analogy, role-playing is acting. It is not. It's not acting. What I'm saying is that role-playing is the act of taking decisions and actions that are in line with your character, which means you don't necessarily have to speak in a funny voice, and you don't have to be like, wah, 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 wah. But if you are playing your character differently than if you were there, then that is essentially role-playing. And that means that role-playing is actually a very broad expanse of what it means. That's okay, Mike. It's okay. It can be a little confusing, but basically what I'm trying to say is I think it's fine if people want to, speak in character and talk like that. That's fine. But it's more that role-playing is about the decisions and the actions and how it's opposed to maybe what you're, the classic example is, I want my character to get all that money because as a player, I would love to be able to buy a new sword, and I would love to be able to level up my character, and I would be able to love to be able to, but you look at your character and you say, no, my character would return it to the village that it was stolen from. And that's what my character would do. And most of the time when we play D&D, you're just doing that because, and some people really like that. But there are games like Pendragon, games like Legend of the Five Rings, games like Powered by the Apocalypse, where this is actually like mechanically part of the game system, Right. Right. It's the exact opposite, right? Like there's also role-playing is also great because you get to do stuff that you would never do, but you would be happy to play a character that did it, So yeah, look at that. That's pretty crazy. This guy has 29 hit points, but like these swords and stuff are doing 15 to something damage per attack. I mean, by the way, look at that glory rating. Holy crap. I have no idea what these scales are, but that must be XP. I don't actually know how that works. Incredibly lethal system. Sweet. Oh, there's our horse. We got multiple horses. I even like that. Like in real life, knights had like entire like ecosystems to support them. They had, like a knight had like 3 or 4 or 5 people just to help him put on his armor. They had a variety of horses, right? Horses that they rode around, horses that they only used for war. So, I mean, there's definitely an element here of like an attempt at realism, which is really interesting. Although the characters, they actually seem, they're not that, there's not that much to the character sheets. So, yeah. Look at over here. Like you can see in your historical event, you've got like a place for what was the important event? What was the date? What is the current game year? There's something you don't see every day, right? This is clearly a game that is meant to take place over, it feels like many, many years. Born, squired, knighted, landed, round table, ennobled, died. Rough. Rough that's already on your character sheet. I love it. Very, very cool. Here's your squire information. That's very, very cool. Sim with another $5 super chat. Glory acts as fame, and every 1K glory gets you a free point to increase a trait, characteristic, skill, or passion. Very cool. So it's a form of pseudo XP. Yeah. Kevin, the famous Pendragon campaign involved playing multiple generations of your starting character's family. Oh, that's sweet. That's actually really awesome. In fact, we've talked about that before with Legend of the Five Rings, about how it'd be so cool to do like a dynasty type campaign where you play like one house, like one noble lord, and you play like generations of that house over the course of 100 years of history. So the idea that they actually like made that is pretty freaking awesome. That actually sounds really cool. As far as the mechanics go, it feels very, BRP derivative. It feels like it's like, if you're familiar with Call of Cthulhu or Mythras or RuneQuest, it's very similar. It just uses a D20 instead of a D100. So, that's good or bad, depending on how you want to look at it. I feel like the characteristics are appropriate for the game, right? Size is part of this sort of BRP thing. Dex, strength, con, perfect. It's all physical. You notice here, there's no wisdom. There's no intelligence. And there's not even really charisma. Appearance. But appearance isn't charisma, right? These are all physical traits. There is no mental characteristic. I think that's really, really interesting. There is no way for us to say that, our character is really smart. My character is smarter than me, right? Obviously you have skills and stuff, but it's interesting that the characteristics don't use that. So that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I think I sometimes feel weirdly about mental stats. So like what their role is in the game. Anyways, I don't know. It's pretty cool. I have no idea how or when or why I would ever play it, but this is like the game that, like, if I could play it at like I don't even know how. Would I play this game play by post? I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, yes, it is true that the lack of mental characteristics really tell you what the game is about. On one hand, yes, but on the other hand, it's saying what the game isn't about, right? It's saying that, number one, a lot of times mental characteristics are put in because, we need something for the spellcasters. But the other thing is it's there because we don't really have a way to assign a character a personality in D20 except by going what's their charisma, what's their intelligence, what's their wisdom. But in this game, you don't need that. You have so much else. You have all your passion. It's not about like what your character knows. It's about what your character feels. It's about what your character believes in, right? It's about who you are, not what you know. So I think that's kind of interesting. So it is telling you what the game is about. And again, I think everything we're just saying, links back to what the game told us it was about at the very beginning, right? It said, what kind of knight do you want to be? And I think that's really, really cool. Like this is a knight simulator game, right? And more than anything, I mean, I think that's kind of how I would describe it. And it's kind of like you go through play to see what will be the story, of your knight, and how will she come to great glory, and maybe will she fall into failure, and will she fall into ignominious defeat, or will she rise above? Will she become the great lord of the land? Will she become a black-hearted villain? I think it's really, really interesting how that it's like a weird like knight slight. It's like a weird knight slice of life game, And yeah, Kevin, I think you make a good point. You don't have mental characteristics because they don't want you to make a saving throw or ability check to avoid deception or enchantment. You're supposed to struggle to figure out the right thing. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah, an engine for developing melodramatic medieval stories. So yeah, that was our first look. And I mean, technically, if you picked up this box set of RuneQuest here, you would get this book too, somewhere. Don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. Here's the lid. From the starter set. And you could go through what I did. Apparently, Ryan did it, and he had a very different outcome than me, which is sweet. But then the actual rules, it comes with pre-gen. There are no character creation rules in this game. There's 8 pre-gens, but technically speaking, and you might be able to like figure it out back into it, but there is no character creation rules in this setting. There is rules for how to play the game. Then there is the like kind of a campaign. I guess you would call it an adventure, but it might be kind of weird to call it an adventure. And then there's 8 pre-generated characters. Now, eventually they will release the core rule book, and then you can make characters, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more details, information. Unfortunately, I think there is a little bit of a uncertainty as to when that is coming out, but supposedly 2024. So blood oaths, generational feuds and alliances, sweeping tales of loves lost and found, high tragedy and romance. All of this is King Arthur Pendragon. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, it's a very interesting game. I don't know if we'll get a chance to do a second look where I actually just go through the strict rules of the game, but it would be interesting. I will say that. But, you never know. With the holidays coming up, we're going to be taking some breaks, but, I don't have kids and families like the rest of the knights do. So, I sometimes get bored, and you never know, you might always stay tuned. This is a perfect candidate for like a Sunday night super secret system stream where I'll just let everybody know like an hour or two beforehand, hey, we're going to go flip through the book 2 and talk about it. So, and Sim has a deep dive in progress on the Discord. Perfect. Awesome. That's great. So I might just go take a look at that for 5.2. Got it. Okay. Well, 6th edition is coming. It'll be interesting to see what the differences is between 5th edition and 6th edition. And if you want to read Simmy's deep dive on King Arthur Pendragon 5.2, then you need to join the Knights Last Call Patreon as well. Link in the description below. We also have a link to the PDF if you want to get a hand on this. It's an affiliate link from DriveThruRPG. We get a couple of percentage points back to our account, which is what I use to buy the PDFs so that I can share them all with you. So, again, we did a little bit different here because people came out and really supported us, and that is amazing. I love all of you guys for doing that. But instead of going through the rules and going through that, we went through this kind of lengthy story process and got to see what the checks were and got to get the feel and the vibe of the game. And of course, that's the classic, if you've ever seen Sword in the Stone, it's one of my favorite Disney movies growing up, or Excalibur. It was kind of interesting and fun. So let me know in the comments below if you have any thoughts or comments or questions. We're going to be back Thursday with a special art stream. I am going to be talking about some of my favorite pieces of art. I'm going to invite some of my patrons before the stream to send, to put into our Discord, special Discord channel or something, some of their favorite pieces of art. And hopefully we'll get some time on the stream. I don't have that many pieces that I really, really love. But we'll go through some of my patrons' favorites, and I'll kind of give my thoughts and feelings about their art. But that's the Knights Last Call in a nutshell. We did it 87 hours. Okay. 87 hours on covering every single spell of Pathfinder 2, every single spell. Now, of course, more spells have come out since then, but we spent almost 90 hours. I can't even tell you how many streams it was, 35 streams or something, just covering the spells of Pathfinder 2. But this week we talked about King Arthur Pendragon, a Chaosium game where you play as a young noble knight in the service of King Arthur's realm. And Thursday we're going to be talking about fantasy art and our favorite pieces across, the 50 plus years of the role-playing game hobby. So again, very unusual channel here, but we're different, and that either, makes you love us or makes you hate us. So either way, I appreciate you checking us out tonight. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in our future streams. And of course, if you're a member of the Patreon, thank you so much for your incredible support. Big shout out tonight to Simi for the multiple super chats. That is very generous of you, sir. Big shout out to Henry for the tips, Ayla, Corel, and of course, Ben, who got us started off on this with a $50 tip to get us into the solo quest mode. So thank you everyone for your incredible support. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to the adventurers who support the YouTube channel directly so they can get their cool loyalty badges and in special emojis. I love doing this. I love being able to share this hobby with you all. And I love learning stuff from you all. And I really appreciate each and every one of you that was in the chat today, helping me with some of the things I got wrong or giving me some extra insight into what makes the game cool. This is a perfect example of a game that I regret reading because it looks cool and I would like to play it, and I would like to play it in a more meaningful way than just playing it once. Like I'd like to sit down and actually play it, but there's so many games, now that there's this list, of ever increasing Dune 2D20, Fabula Ultima, 4th edition D&D again, Avatar Legends, PBTA, Pendragon. I have like 3 games around. Oh, Forbidden Lands. That's like I think we're going to play a Forbidden Lands campaign. I don't even know how or when, but we will. So anyways, lots of games. I love them all. Dream scenario is one day I'm not working and I can just play games all the time. Hopefully with folks like yourself. So thank you a lot for stopping by tonight, and we'll see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Bye out, everybody. Peace.